All right, so today we're diving into something you might not expect. The lotus flower.
Okay.
And I know what you're thinking, like a flower. For real. But stick with me on this one because...
And it's not exactly your typical...
Right, it's not your typical deep dive.
Right.
But I was watching this video online, one of those motivational ones, lots of like calming music and nature shots, and it really focused on the lotus as this big symbol of resilience.
Yeah.
And it really got me thinking.
Yeah, they're so striking visually, too. I mean, just that whole process of the lotus is pretty amazing.
Exactly. And the video really highlighted that visual journey. You see the seed, like, buried in the mud at the bottom of this murky pond, right?
Right.
And it's got this whole journey to make just to reach the light.
It does, and it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, all that muck and mud, it's got to push through all that just to survive.
Yeah. And it's interesting because they don't just survive, they really thrive. I mean, have you ever seen a lotus in bloom?
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. Like, I'm thinking of some of those temples in Asia where they just surround the whole place. And it's not just a visual thing. It's like they're saying something about the place itself.
It's true. They do have this really powerful presence.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that journey from the mud to this beautiful flower, it really resonates with people, I think, because it mirrors our own experiences, right? Like we all face those times that feel like we're stuck in the mud.
Totally.
Those challenges, those setbacks, those moments where it just feels kind of overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
And yet, like the lotus, we all have this capacity for inner strength, this ability to push through those tough times, to reach for something better. Like that's within us just waiting to be tapped into,
Yeah. Right. And that's what I thought was so interesting about the video. Like it wasn't just about surviving hardship. It was about the lotus actually gaining strength, gaining something from that struggle. And actually, the video talked about how in Buddhism, the lotus represents enlightenment. And that it's that whole journey through the muck and the darkness, that's what actually leads to clarity.
It's like a process of refinement almost,
Right.
right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Gold, right? You have to go through the fire, the heat, the pressure to burn away the impurities to get to that pure state. And it's kind of like that with us, isn't it? Like each obstacle we overcome, each challenge we face head on, it kind of becomes part of what makes us stronger, more resilient.
It's like building muscle or something, right? You have to push through that resistance to grow.
Exactly. You got it.
So it's not about avoiding the mud. It's more like the mud's part of it. It's like necessary even. Like how can we find the beauty in those unexpected kind of messy places? Right?
Yeah, you've got it. It's all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Take the lotus again. In Hinduism, the unfolding of its petals is symbolic too.
Okay.
It represents spiritual awakening.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And each petal, each one represents a different quality on that journey. Compassion, awareness, you name it.
So instead of looking at our own struggles as just like purely negative things, maybe the key is trying to see them as opportunities, right? Opportunities for learning, for change, for us to kind of bloom in our own way. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And, it's like the lotus needs that muddy environment. If you try to plant a lotus in some perfectly pristine, filtered water,
what happens?
It won't thrive. It might not even survive. It needs that muck, that challenge to really reach its full potential.
That is so interesting. Okay, so what I'm taking away here is it's not about wishing our lives were just easy and free of problems, right? It's more like how can we take those muddy parts, those challenges, and see them as the ground where we can cultivate our own resilience and find our own path to blooming.
Exactly. You got it. You got it. That's the heart of it right there. So I guess the question for everyone listening is this. What's your mud? What challenge, what obstacle, what's that thing you're facing right now that feels kind of overwhelming? And how can you look at it differently? How can you embrace this experience, even the tough parts, as a chance to learn, to grow, to discover how strong you really are? Because that's where the real growth, the real blossoming happens.
So good. Really something to think about. Well, on that note, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
Awesome.
Until next time.
See you later.